welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am solo today. The snow is obviously crazy. We've talked about Tony and snow do not go well together. He is super busy helping out the world. So hopefully he is all well. I'm checking my phone to see if he's texting me, but all good to go. Matt Eberflus. I'm getting it right every single time. And a guy from Matt Eberflus's old staff is now a part of the Chicago Bears. That is what we're here to talk about today. The Bears have now found their defensive coordinator after releasing Sean Desai. Best of luck to him. But Alan Williams, previous safeties coach and defensive backs coach for the Bears, or for the Colts, will now be the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator under Matt Eberflus. Great signing. We're going to break it down on why. And we have one other update that I know a lot of you guys have been looking out for. So let's talk a little bit about Alan Williams, Colts safety coach and now defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, 52 years old. He's coached since 1992. So he has 30 years of experience, college and NFL. He started his NFL career back in 2001 as a defensive assistant for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then he went to the Indianapolis Colts from 2002 to 2011. And if you're a diehard Bears fan and know that timing, they won the Super Bowl with him as their defensive backs coach back in 2006. He did have another Super Bowl appearance under Jim Caldwell, another candidate that was going to be up for the Chicago Bears head coach position, but they did not win that one in 2011. That went to the New Orleans Saints. Also, if you go watch that movie, Home Team, I think it's called, on Netflix, it's like Happy Madison Productions does like a Sean Payton, like talking about what happened during that year that Sean Payton was suspended from the NFL for paying players to, hurt other players. It's actually a pretty decent movie. I know there's been some questionable Adam Sandler movies over the last couple of years, but that one was a pretty good one. Anyway, let's go back to what's going on here. After his time with the Colts, he went to the Minnesota Vikings, where he had his first stint as a defensive coordinator. That was from 2012 to 2013. The playoffs in 2012, not bad. And this was some of his highlight stats from that defense. 8th in fumbles, 10th in passing yards allowed, 8th in rushing touchdowns allowed, and 7th in rushing yards allowed. All top 10 category. That's something that the Bears really did struggle with this past season, and that we need to improve for next year. And we believe that Al Williams will come in and do that. After his time with the Minnesota Vikings, he was part of Leslie Frazier's staff. And as you know, usually when a coach gets fired, which Leslie Frazier did in 2013, usually means that there's a clear house. He was part of that, and then he got picked up by the Detroit Lions as a defensive backs and safeties coach from 2014 to 2017. The Lions, obviously, kind of a very questionable organization. Look what happened with Matthew Stafford when he leaves. He's going to his first Super Bowl in his first year with a new team. So he did okay. I don't have too many stats, to be honest, about his time with Detroit. There was no playoff appearances, unfortunately, for him, but it led to him getting picked up by the Indianapolis Colts in 2018 by who else? Matt Eberflus, defensive backs coach and safeties coach from 2018 to now, or as of about an hour ago, where he was officially signed as the Bears defensive coordinator. He worked the entire time with Eberflus, worked very closely with him, and that's why that defense was so successful for such a long time. One of the best secondaries in the league, arguably, last year. So here are some of the stats that I want to break down with you guys. And this is huge because it helps with a big hole of weakness that the defense had this past year under Sean Desai. Again, best of luck to Coach Desai. Might be signing with the Seahawks as their defensive coordinator. Stay tuned for that. But the Colts last year, number 3 in interceptions, number 2 in turnovers overall, number 7 in rush attempts allowed, number 3 in rushing touchdowns allowed. And this is the number 1 that I am so pumped about. They were number 1 in the percentage of opposing offensive drives ending in a turnover. That's saying that the amount of times that the opposing offense is on the field, and they led in the highest percentage of likeliness to have a turnover or having a turnover. That is awesome. And that is something so big that the Bears missed last year. Being a safeties coach, he knows that that's area number 1 for the Chicago Bears. And I'm sure Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles have talked to him about that. Like, hey, you got to fix this right away, either with what we got or what we're bringing in for you. And he already has Jaylon Johnson. He has Eddie Jackson, Tayshaun Gibson Sr. He's a free agent, but he has Thomas Graham Jr. as well. Deion Bush, potentially. We'll see about that. But he's going to be able to ramp it up immediately along with the rest of the defense. And again, as a defensive coordinator, he wasn't that bad. He just got released because the Vikings cleared house back in 2013 when Leslie Frazier was fired as their head coach. So that's big. That's big. And Indy has a bunch of ball hawks on it. As we stated in a couple episodes, they also brought in James Rowe, who was their defensive backs coach. He's now the Bears defensive backs coach under Alan Williams. So they have a lot of collaboration, and that's a huge sign as well. So Indy is going to become, it's pretty much the Chicago Colts at this point. That's the whole joke that's been going around. But the Eberflus connection is huge. Eberflus connection. Flus. I definitely said Flus again earlier. I am so sorry about that. Eberflus. Overall, the connection is huge. And it shows that even going to another team, he trusts Alan Williams and coming in and having the same success as he had in Indianapolis. That is something that the Bears want. We are wanting to build a super team of coaches, and that is going to be very, very beneficial for the Chicago Bears defense. So hoping that we're going to have probably more coming up. We have our mock draft coming out on Friday, and that involves some defensive backs and defensive players overall. That Alan Williams could definitely turn into Roquan Smith or Jaylon Johnson type players. So stay tuned for that. But one more thing I want to hit on really fast. I know a lot of people wanted Panthers' former offensive coordinator and LSU's former quarterbacks coach, Joe Brady, as our quarterbacks coach. And it was rumored that he was going to interview with us. Unfortunately, he might have interviewed with us. It was never confirmed for sure how it went. But the success of Joe Burrow at LSU and making him an elite quarterback and being a young guy and a lot of people wanting him, he unfortunately is going to the Buffalo Bills and going to be their quarterbacks coach. So best of luck to him. Out of division, that's all right. Hey, he's going to work with Mitch and Josh Allen. That's all I got to say. So super quick update on Alan Williams. Welcome to Chicago, defensive coordinator. There is more answers to this staff, and stay tuned for more news. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde. We'll see you guys next time.